All right. Well, thank you everyone for making time to be with us here today. Glad to be able to have this discussion with some esteemed alumni. Vincent Wilson, president of the African American Alumni Association, Cal U class of 2012. And we have some recent alums as well as some alums who graduated my year and slightly after, but we're going to have a great discussion around Black joy and excellence during Black History Month. So I would love to turn it over to Bria to introduce some of our panelists for this discussion.
All right. Thank you, Vince. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm thrilled to have our incredible alumni panelists who will be sharing their insights and experiences with us. Before we dive into the conversation, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists. I'll ask each of them to briefly share their graduation year, their program, and what they are currently doing. So first we have Torrin Davis.
How are we doing, everyone? I apologize. I have to be off camera at the moment. My name is Torrin Davis. I'm currently an enterprise improvement advisor at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and I'm also a DJ for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank you. Next, we have Shantae Motley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shantae Motley. I am a social justice researcher as well as a professor, and I'm class of 2013.
Thank you. Tanya Blanc.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya Blanc. I am a career advisor for Heights Philadelphia. It is a nonprofit organization in Philadelphia where we act as an economic mobility catalyst and help, essentially what my job is, I help students of Philadelphia from Black and Brown communities, help them with the career and professional development. And I graduated from Cal in 2020 with my undergrad in psychology and went back for my master's in clinical mental health counseling and graduated in 2022.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Anthony Lee Johnson. Oh, okay.
Hey guys, my name is Anthony, but you guys can call me Tony. I am a recent college grad from Cal U, with a psychology major, and I'm currently taking a gap year before I go into my grad program for psychology. So I
And
forgot.
we,
forgot.
yep, I see we have Christina Kenny. Everyone is introducing themselves, what they do, and their program that they were in when they were here.
Hi, good evening. Hi, everybody. My name's Christina Kenny. I went to Cal for my undergrad and I was a psychology major. I also took a gap year off and then went to grad school and in the clinical mental health counseling program and graduated in 2015. I currently have three positions. At my one job, I am a behavioral health licensed therapist for Western Site if, associated with the University of Pittsburgh and UPMC. I also am the outreach coordinator for the Hope Team Clinic, which is a clinic that supports youth and young adults who have psychotic like symptoms but do not meet criteria for a psychotic disorder. And I also recently just became a DUI instructor. So I merge all of those positions together through UPMC.
Thank you all for sharing. So tonight we are centering this discussion on Black joy, Black excellence, and what it means to thrive in every space. Too often the stories told about Black experiences focus on struggle, but Black joy is just as real and powerful. It is about celebrating our successes, embracing our full selves, and thriving unapologetically. Similarly, Black excellence is about continuously striving for success, pushing boundaries, and lifting as we climb. It's about showing up authentically and proudly in every space we enter. With that in mind, let's jump into our first question. Reminder, if you could please keep your answers brief to allow our other panelists to share their thoughts as well. So my first question to you all is, what does Black joy mean to you, and how do you actively incorporate it into your daily life? Feel free to jump in.
I'll go first. Oh, okay. So I feel like currently right now what Black Joy means to me is just being unapologetically imperfectly perfect, like, or trying to strive for it. Because I feel like there's always cameras and eyes and opinions when it comes to being Black and when it comes to just like living in my Black skin every day. And it gives me anxiety sometimes, but I'm learning how to live in it. And I think that that's what's given me the most Black joy lately. Just learning how to live in it, learning how to turn that anxiety into confidence, learning how to kind of thrive from it. So that's kind of how I feel like my Black joy has thrived lately.
I would say for me, Black joy is similar to Tony. I believe in authenticity, and oftentimes as Black and Brown individuals, we are told to kind of like minimize ourselves so we don't take up too much space, or we have a lot of assumptions about ourselves. But when we internalize those things, it impacts a lot of the things that we do day to day. So I've been learning, especially being in numerous places where I've been the only Black woman and sometimes the only Black person there, I have learned to take all of the quote unquote assumptions and what people think about the Black individuals and really just use it as my strength and as my power. So it just means like I'm happy to be born in the skin that I am. I am in currently, and I just want to be able to utilize that and spread it everywhere I go in every community.
Thank
I can
you.
go next. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Mhm.
I was going to say something. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, my definition of Black joy, similar to what other people have said, the is my whole existence. I don't know about any other people on the call other than myself and Torin, but as a parent, I think my new definition of Black joy is watching the fruits of my labor, being my ancestors' dreams, hopes, and prayers, taking up space when needed, being there for the rise of call, any opportunity that I have. I'm here for the call of duty, whether it's a platform like this, being the first person to do something at work, being the example, whereas sometimes people don't want to be the example or to explain the Black experience. I'm the opposite. And we do need that healthy balance where I'm willing. I want you to have a front row seat to what Black joy is. I want you to be able to digest it and have that safe space to either celebrate it, be an ally, or be interested so that you can be appreciative in a respectfully curious way. I think it's also a part of my full identity as I identify as a Black woman who's also disabled, who's also a therapist, who's also a creative, who's also a motivational speaker, who's also a mother. So I'm a little bit of a resume junkie, and I'm finally okay with saying that. Like, I like the accolades. I don't do it for look at me. I do it because, like, I'm looking at me.
Ante, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I feel like everybody kind of put what I was going to say out there. But yeah, I mean, it's really just being authentically yourself. Don't not changing who you are to fit into different places. If you want to listen to ratchet music on your way to an important meeting, you can do that. Like to do that and be you and not feel like you have to code switch or be somebody different for people to appreciate who you are. Changing your personality and adjusting and just making sure that you're doing the things that you want to do because you want to do it, not because society feels like you should do it, or that's what, the box that people have placed you in, making your own box and busting out of it when you need to, and then coming back in when you want to.
Thank you. And for my second question, how has your experiences at Penn West or Cal U prior to this shaped your way to how you navigate different spaces today?
I'll take this one first. So when I went to school there, it was very different. It was a smaller town from where I came from. So I met a lot of individuals such as Vince, such as Shantae and everyone, and they literally helped me get used to that environment, but also we kind of all used each other's experiences, the things that we were experiencing at that time at school, whether it was personal, whether it was academic and things of that nature, whether it was, say, fraternities and things like that. And we kind of just helped each other mold each other into who we are today. And literally, those previous life experiences with them definitely still sits with me today. I still think back on our time at what was then Cal U, which is now Penn West. And it literally helps me every single day, everything that I do, whether it's healthcare, whether it's in the entertainment industry.
I would say for me, when I went to Cal U, I have learned so many things, especially it was very much a culture shock when I first got there. I am from Philadelphia, so it's like, okay, now I'm in the middle of nowhere. I went from the city to this countryside school, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is very interesting. But as I took in the new culture that I am a part of, I have learned that there are spaces for me, right? So there, even though it might seem like there's nothing somewhere, or it was just like, what am I supposed to do here? This town is filled with like 10 people. Cal U has really gave me an opportunity to always seek opportunity and know that there's something there, even though this town is like really small, even though the school is very small and a lot of people don't know where it's at. I have learned that there is opportunity everywhere, and I cannot explain to you the amount of opportunities that I've received by being a Cal U graduate or Penn West, and or just being an alumni, and even doing stuff like this, where you guys are still reaching out to me, so, like some years later, is definitely something I thoroughly enjoy, and taking my experiences that I had, and one of the best college experiences that I've had, and just like sharing that and letting you know that there's opportunity everywhere. So that's one thing that Cal U taught me.
How you taught me how to be uncomfortable in in situations, and learn how to make that comfortable. So like a lot of people, I came from bigger city, and I was just like, oh, where am I at and what did I do to myself, right? But I learned very quickly that it's okay to start something new, to be somewhere different, and to be able to move yourself somewhere else where you don't know anyone, and to kind of start your life over how you want to. It allowed me to really kind of adjust and learn about the highs and the lows in life. So now when I go through things, I'm like, well, I've experienced this already. Like I've already been at these places in life where there were highs and lows, and I was able to get over it, and I got here. It also allowed me to really be comfortable with people who were different from me, right? Because you have a bunch of people from different places. Most people at Cal are from either like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. I was from Jersey. We had a couple people from like Delaware and New York. But like even in that, there's differences in how we were raised and the experiences that we have. And so you learn to be comfortable with people from different groups, and then that ultimately helps you in your future because you're able to accommodate in those situations when you're around people who might not have the same background as you.
Very quickly, I'll echo everything everybody is saying. But Cal U also helped me to channel my anxiety, like Tony shared. And on a more lighter and fun note, Cal U is an extension of my family. My daughter's godmother, I met her at Cal U. For example, I'm having a birthday party on Sunday. 80% of the people who are coming are people I went to college with. So it's my village. They say it takes a village to raise a child. My village is so helping to raise me, and we're click tight intentionally.
I agree with all of you first. And just to add on, I believe that Kyle has taught me to Cal has taught me that like my path is my own, and that it doesn't matter how much time, or it doesn't matter what route you go, because I'm the only person on this route. I'm the only person on this road. And it's also taught me there's an opportunity, take it. Like, see where it takes you. If like the worst can happen is a lesson. Like, so um I think that's like those are the two main points for me that like uh Cal has taught me, just to take the opportunities when they're handed to me or when they're presented, or to just really take my time and really just like understand that like I'm not in anybody's race. Like, this is my own race, and this is my own fight. Like, I'm only fighting with the man in the mirror, basically.
I'll jump in and add one thing. I would say I echo pretty much everything everyone said. And the other thing I would say Cal really taught me would be the importance of community, because like most people who are on here, well, actually everybody on the call, no one's from California, Pennsylvania. So it's a culture shock for all of us to go there. But when we got there, and like people said, it may be devoid of resources or from the outside look point, but we all created opportunities for each other and were supportive. And it really honed in on that fact of no matter where you come from, you can find community and you can make it your home, and you can build lasting relationships. And it doesn't matter where you start. We all start at these small school that most people don't know about, but we've all branched out to go ahead and do amazing things. So Cal really just instilled the fact of one, lean on each other, the importance of community, support each other, and moving forward. Just because we went somewhere that a lot of people didn't necessarily know doesn't mean that we aren't destined to do great things, because everyone on this call is doing great things and came from a small school. Now living in the state of California, people are like, where'd you go to school at? But we are able to kind of put it on the map, and Cal's alumni are continuing to do great thing. And I'm glad that we're able to have this panel discussion and bring folks together so we can kind of highlight all the amazing work that is coming from Cal.
Thank you all. So, what challenges have you faced in maintaining your authenticity in professional and personal spaces, and how have you overcome them?
I don't think I really struggled in the personal sector because I've always been able to be authentically who I am. Like probably a lot of you, all my friends for the most part are from Cal. So they've known me from, when I was young and now my very much more mature self. Professionally though, that was a struggle. When I first moved to Texas to pursue my PhD, I felt like I had to change my personality to adapt to that because, like, now you're getting this advanced degree and you have to be this special somebody and you have to talk a certain way and you have to carry yourself a certain way. And I was miserable because I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't in order to fit into other people's puzzles. And so ultimately, I had to really take a step back and be like, what makes you authentically happy? What makes you tick every day? What makes you you? What's going to bring you through this program, right? Because being your fake self is not going to get you through this program. And so, being in spaces like that where you're like, okay, I feel like I have to change myself. You learn very quickly how to be who you are to be happy. And that helped me within other professional areas. And when I started working in areas where I was the only Black person or the only Black woman in a room, and people had expectations of how I was supposed to act or how I was supposed to be, I didn't change. I didn't code switch. Like, obviously, I was professional, right? But I made sure to maintain who I was and didn't downplay who I was. One big thing I have is like going to conferences. I always wear my hair natural. I do some type of natural style because I want you to see that I'm authentically me. If I want to wear my long nails and all my jewelry, I'm going to do just that because I don't want to change who I am to fit this puzzle. So I learned to just, be me. And if people are looking past the superficial stuff or whatever and actually listen to what I'm saying, they'll know I know what I'm doing.
I would say for me, Professionally, yeah, I struggled a little bit in the professional realm because of the different jobs that I've worked, and they were all in places where there weren't many people that looked like me. So, being that the face, I guess, and being that, the only Black woman there, I felt like a lot of pressure on me. So that was a lot of that was very difficult, but I'm glad I went through those experiences because it allowed me to, like, hey, like, even though everyone's looking at you, this is your time to shine. This is your time to show and represent, not only Black women, but the Black community, and showing that, yeah, yes, we are smart. We are, beautifully and authentically made. And I love the fact that I had that experience to do that. As far as personal, when I first got to Cal, I went through an identity crisis. It was it was funny enough because it was actually my first BSU meeting, and the theme was like, I think it was like being Black or something like that. And that was growing up in the Black household. And that was the first time I really understood what being Black meant, because I'm actually Haitian, so I'm Haitian American, and that fell under that. So it was just like, oh, everyone's talking about, like, collard greens and fried chicken, and doing this when your mom's not home and all that stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I could relate in a little bit, but I didn't really share that a lot of those experiences because I grew up in a more ethnic household. So I got to learn the difference between that. And I'm just like, no, I don't identify as African American. I do identify as Black, but it's still, I still believe that it is my job to make sure that I know who I am. And yes, I am Black because, I mean, you're just gonna look at me. If I don't tell you I'm Haitian, you're not gonna know. So, being able to authentically understand who I am and then reflect that in a lot of my decisions and a lot of my situations is really what's gonna help me move forward. So yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm grateful for it.
Can you repeat the question for me?
Yes, so I said, what challenges have you faced in maintaining your authenticity in professional and personal spaces, and how have you overcome them?
So I would say in the entertainment industry, it's not going to be any. I can be myself and literally just grow as who I am. When it came to healthcare, it was more along the lines of when I started breaking into the children's hospital. I went in with this preconceived notion that I had to look a certain type of way, I had to dress a certain type of way. Couldn't have my hair out in twists or braids or whatever the case I may have it in this moment. I couldn't wear the earrings that I usually wear. So at first, I did conform to that a little bit, just trying to be a chameleon. But then I realized, like, as long as I'm myself and I do my job, nobody can take that from me, and they can't sit there and tell me what I can and cannot do, how I can and cannot dress to a certain extent. And obviously, you still have to be professional, but at the same time, being confident who you are, like every other one of the panelists are saying, and literally going from there. Be true to who you are is all I can say.
Okay, so this is probably one of my favorite questions so far. So I think one of the biggest challenges for me has been restarting. Like restarting just it like I know who I am. I do. And I'm happy with who I am and I am confident in who I am. But restarting with people who don't know you and who don't know who you are, and it's like and I'm a humble person, but like it gives me anxiety and it makes me feel as a Black man, it makes me feel like I have to um kind of adhere to a standard when I don't. And through this gap year I've been bartending. I'm a bartender. And it's like that customer service is so engraved in me. And it's like it's all, and also as a Black man, it's like to please people. But like I don't gotta please nobody. And like that's why that's kind of what I've been learning as I continue to restart in every different phase of my life. Like I said, I'm taking this gap year. I just recently graduated, and it just seems like every single part of my life is restarting. And Yeah, I feel like that's just been like the most difficult part in just like remaining this person and just like continuing to understand who I am and continuing to even when it's being challenged, basically, like to continue to like really just know I know who I am. Like, and to also know that like I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to continue to just experience new things, but also know who I am. Like, I will tell you that I know nothing, but that's also me telling myself that I know something. So it's kind of where I am with my challenges with this.
And I'll give a different perspective. I feel like I'm still living through my challenges for two reasons, and it's still the challenges are a motivation. I didn't hear anybody talk about regret. I allowed, to a certain extent, advisors at CalU to dim my light in the sense to where it encouraged me not to be a dual major and not to go over some of the things. For some people on this call who do know me, may not know that I wanted to be a dual major. I wanted to do psychology and criminology. My original goal was to become a forensic psychologist. I knew my academic challenges and wins. However, it was that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Um, and I allowed it to a certain extent because I'm confident and able to be accountable for letting somebody that have that negative effect on me, but then they also need to be accountable for negatively influencing a first generation college student. So that is my motivation to knock down every door, every challenge, and face them head on. Another challenge, like I shared before, my first degree at Cal, I was not an amputee. My second degree, that's why I had to take a gap year and it took me so long. And so I have to face challenges in every space all the time. And it's part of the reason why I shared before, like I have to be the person, and I'm okay with being the person to speak up, to say something, to explain and share, because even with some of the things that we're facing in America with diversity and inclusion, people never talk about capability. They always stop at diversity and race when inclusion is talking about inclusion of all people, all genders, and all races. And so I have been able to utilize my skills, my talents, my hobbies to make myself more confident and to face those challenges and that regret.
So going based off of some of your answers with that, what strategies has helped you thrive in spaces where you may be the only Black person or one of few in the room?
I mean, I'll jump in this one because I probably worked at one of the whitest places ever. So prior to the job I work at now, which is the Obama Foundation, I used to work at Dartmouth College. And for those who don't know, Dartmouth is in New Hampshire, which is in the fourth whitest state, surrounded by the third and the first whitest state. So many times I was the only one, and I suffered, or I wasn't as confident and thought like, oh, this is a mistake. I'm here. I shouldn't be in these rooms. Like I'm in rooms with people who are using big words that I never heard before. Now I don't feel like I'm smart enough. And someone broke it down to me where it was like, don't look at that as necessarily an obstacle, but look at it as an opportunity to learn. So I would go ahead and learn those words that people were saying and then realize you weren't saying anything different. You just wanted to say something that made it sound even more grandiose than it actually is. And being able to look at myself as learn that language, learn what people are saying, but then being able to go back and teach people who may not be in these spaces. And I looked at it as an opportunity of being, I'm in these spaces for a reason. It's for me to figure out, but I'm not in here by mistake. And I also looked at, I have a unique ability that my white coworkers and counterparts don't have. Because we're Black, we have to learn how to operate in spaces where we might be the only one to conform and make other individuals feel comfortable, how we walk, how we talk, how we present ourselves. If I can master that, I know how to operate in my own space where they don't have to go more times than not. They will never go into an all Black space and be able to work a room. the fact that I can go into an all white space and work a room and then go back into a black space, I look at it as, that is a power that we have that no one can take away from us. And don't look at it as something that makes us lesser than. So I kind of get excited at times when I'm going into spaces. I'm like, I'm going to be the only one, because now not only am I going to be the only one this time, but my goal is next time I'm bringing someone else along with me. Or if I can't get somebody in that room, the things that I learn in that room, conversations that are being had, I can then go back to my own community. So with that being said, going into spaces where I'm the only one, I try to switch on the mindset of I'm here for a reason. There's something that I can learn from this. And whatever nuggets of gems that I can gain from this room, how can I utilize it and take it back to give it to someone who may never had this opportunity to be in this room, or not this opportunity yet, but I'm making a pathway. So, years down the line, I won't be the only one who's walking in these rooms.
And I'm gonna have to second that with Vince as well, because it kind of works both sides of the fence for me. Where at the hospital, I think I'm the youngest. Well, not only just the youngest, but I'm the only Black man in my space. So literally, I'm dealing with individuals who are predominantly white that are probably 60 or 50 to 60 years old, come from a different time than we do. And they're looking at me, who's this young guy, a young Black man that's literally telling us what to do or how to do our jobs or how to make something better. So literally having that confidence, being able to do that, and then switch and then go into uh, certain industries, whether it could be the trap spot or DJ, I can go into a corporate event or work for a stadium where I have to cater to so many different individuals. I have to be able to maneuver within all of these rooms. So I literally wholeheartedly agree with everything that Vince just said.
And if I could piggyback off of that, I think um, I suffer from imposter syndrome from that, every now and then, right? And I think the big thing is, and my brother tells me this all the time, whenever you're feeling a little off base, just tell yourself your story. You know your struggles better than everyone else. You know your resume better than everyone else. You're still here. You're still improving. You're still advancing. So I think that's a big thing to, keep that internal narrative of you know where you came from, you know where you are, you know where you're going, right? So I just from my experience, I jumped from the nonprofit space straight into like analytics consulting with like Fortune 500 companies, right? So I'm like, I don't belong here. Like, what am I going to tell these people? And and you've got to remember, I'm working with PhDs and all these data scientists and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, sometimes I get, I'm like, oh, I'm just some guy from Delaware. But like, no, you're there for a reason, right? Like they would not put you in these roles. They would not allow you into these rooms if you were not absolutely qualified, right? We know that, twice as nice and all that. So, you deserve to be there. You've earned it. You've earned your right to be where you are. And even if you're the only one there, just remember your story and walk confidently. So that's my advice.
And I want to definitely piggyback off that. Took the words right out of my mouth, right? So, I too have suffered from imposter syndrome, like even still till this day sometimes. And everybody that knows me could tell you that they would yell at me because I do not give myself enough credit. And all the time, I often have to think of just like, why am I here? So the different strategies that I use is like, I know that I'm going to always speak up for myself, because there are so many times I've been the only Black therapist, I've been the only Black school counselor, I've been the only Black student in spaces. And when I feel like I'm being dimmed, when I feel like I'm not being heard, I'm going to always stick up for myself and stand up for myself, because, our ancestors didn't get to do that. And all the time, I always remind myself, even though sometimes I feel like I'm a diversity hire, but I'm still looking. I just take a look at my wall and all my accolades, and I'm just like, I know why I'm here. I know why I did it. And coming from the daughter of two immigrant parents, this is a huge thing that I'm currently, like, I'm always accomplishing. I'm always striving to do better. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let anyone, especially someone that doesn't look like me, tell me that I can't do something. And I take pride in working with children and young adults, and I always tell them, do not let anyone anyone dim your light. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Don't let anyone tell you that you're less than, because oftentimes we get hurt, we get told that all the time, especially as a collective, as a Black community, we get told that we're less than all the time. And I made it a mission to make sure that my confidence was definitely uprooted, not only in my Blackness, but it's also uprooted in my community and knowing that I am one of those people that's going to be raising the next generation. So always just like sticking up for myself and those others as well.
And real quick, a different perspective is how I utilize my spirituality and my honoring God by just waking up and doing what I need to do every day. Also, my mom, like I'm one of her little friends. She's one of my little friends, honestly. Like some people may not know, but me and my mom went to college together. She went to a different university, but she was like, if you going, I'm going. My mom was also one of the first people to go to a segregated school in in Pittsburgh. So like her lineage, like if I call my mom right now, like I don't think I can do it, she's gonna tell me off and pray for me and scream at me. And so I don't want to smoke with her. So, I gotta keep being great. And similar to what Fred say, I do read my resume often. Because I have to. I write resumes with students when I'm doing career counseling. I show it to people, like literally. God has been blessing me. People call me and pay me to do the resumes randomly. And my mom supports it. And I've been currently doing resumes for people in their 50s and 60s who lost their jobs during the pandemic, who are experiencing ageism. And so I have to empower these older women who even have more skills than some of the people our ages. And I just have to hold on to that and be the fruits of their labor.
I'll be real quick too. I 100% agree. My relationship with God and having community around me keeps me grounded and helps me know that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I always do check-ins like, hey, God, is this what I'm still supposed to be doing? Like, you sure it's where you want me to be at? Because I work in a space where I mainly work with juvenile and criminal offenders, right? And so oftentimes I am the only Black person in the room, and we know that our systems are not made up of the majority. We're very overrepresented in the systems, right? And so I recognize that I have like the necessity and the need to make sure that I'm the voice for those individuals, right? Because other people in that room, they have no idea what their life experiences are. They've never experienced those things. They've never been able to like really have a conversation. They can't build rapport like I can build rapport, right? And so I know that it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm the speaking voice for those individuals who cannot speak for themselves or who might not be heard. And so, especially with over incarceration and mass incarceration, all those things happening in our country, it's just important for me to not dim my light in those rooms because it's a necessity for their well-being. So it's not even for me.
Thank you. And we often talk about the Black excellence standard and this drive to excel, achieve, and pave a way, but that can also come with its own pressures. So how do you balance the expectation of excellence with self-care and personal well-being?
Prioritize me. I prioritize me because I if I don't help me, I can't help nobody else. And my mom used to tell me that since I was a baby. Like because that's always been in my person to help people. So like prioritizing myself and making sure I'm okay, making sure that I'm showing the love that I give to myself, I give to others. Um that's how I like really kind of make sure that I'm able to like really be the person that I need to be. And also not believing in coincidences. Like it helps me stay present, it helps me stay mindful. My faith also helps me stay present and mindful, but like knowing that everything happens for a reason, I think that really just helps me a lot as well.
Boundaries and being intentional. I think that's the biggest thing is being able to have those boundaries of knowing like what you can and can't do. what you have the capacity for and what you don't. And I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with that. Like I am a people pleaser at nature. And so I'm like, how can I help everybody else? And I have people hold me accountable. That's the other part, is having accountability partners where I'm like, hey, do not feel like you can't tell me, hey, stop. Like you're doing too much. You need to say no, do what you're supposed to do for you. And so being intentional, making sure I have other people to hold me accountable has been very great, because I have people who are like, absolutely not. You can't do that. Go get a massage. Like, no, you can't cancel your pedicure. You need to go do this, right? And so you just have to have that for yourself, but also the people around you.
And to piggyback off of that, heavy on the boundaries because oftentimes, I know I can speak personally for me. I have put myself in so many predicaments just because I didn't want to say no. And I was overstressed, I was overworked, I couldn't show up as my best self. And it was so difficult for me. So even when I was at Cal, I always had my self-care Sundays. I always had my massages. I always had my kickboxing classes, and I'm a spa girly. I will always go to the spa. And it's just like, hey, I don't got no time in my day. Or even if I don't have no time in my day, sorry, no, I cannot do that. I'm busy. I don't care if I'm doing nothing. I just think that, you can't show up and, pour out of an empty cup. Like it just makes no sense. There really isn't a point for you to be there if you can't even show up as your best self. So I know that I need to recharge before I can be in those spaces and wanting to guide or motivate people or whatever I'm doing, because self-care, it has self in it. Like you cannot be like you really just can't be yourself if you really just don't make the time for you. And I take a lot of pride in that, and I make sure to always check in with myself. I check in with God. I check in just with my thoughts and emotions, and it's just like, hey, can I do this today? Do I have the ability, do I have the space to do this today? And if any of those say no, no. So I understand the boundaries part for sure.
I want to follow up and piggyback off of that. So, those two things that have been kind of worked into my brain is no is a complete sentence, right? And doing nothing is doing something, right? Like I think, Torrin and Vince know me well. We can hang out. We hung out a bunch in college, and afterwards, and some days, what's Fred doing? He's shutting down, listening to his music, doing whatever. So like it's being able to create that space for yourself and being open, communicating. Everybody understands your boundaries and where you're coming from, but yeah, like I said, no is a complete sentence. If you're not up for it, you're not up for it, and it can be as simple as that.
Anyone else like to add anything? Okay. So what advice would you give to students and young professionals striving to embrace their own Black excellence?
I will
I'll
definitely.
go. Go ahead.
Oh no,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was literally just gonna say, just again, just know who you are, know where you came from. I watched my grandparents clean rich people's floors and take care of their yards for years, just to take care of their family. Like to see that in person, to know where you came from, know your history, look at your parents and everything that they do on a daily basis to get you the opportunities that you have today. Really don't take it for granted, because one day it's your kids, if you're blessed to have them, will be looking at you and see the work that you put in. And ultimately, you want to make life easier for those that come after you. And you want to continue making a difference. I know some people do it in a variety of ways. Vince, Fred, and myself do it in a lot of fraternity work, and then we do it jobs and just do it for ourselves, just because that's who we are. But just don't ever like dim your light. Let your light shine. Don't ever let somebody tell you you're something you're not, or you can't do anything, because anything's possible. Um, should I sit here and be where I am today in both my career fields? I can tell you absolutely not. But I trust myself. I trust in God first and foremost, that I'm sitting here going to continue to work hard and put everything that I have into it, because I only have one trip around the sun. And I want to make my kids one day proud of me and what I'm able to do. And I can't, if I'm not going to sit there and put my all into whatever thing that I do, trust who I am and where I come from, and there's no point in even going forward. So don't even hesitate and embrace it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care whether they're black. I don't care about that crab in a barrel mentality. I don't care whether they're white, Hispanic. It really don't matter. Like literally, nobody else's opinion about you matters but yourself and God. So literally, just continue to strive and do everything that you ever set out to do. And even if it may seem like it's unattainable, I promise you it is. If you put the time and work in, you can have whatever you want.
And I definitely agree with that. And I deal with students, college students and young adults all day, every day. And oftentimes a lot of their struggles and challenges come with, oh, I can't find a job, I can't find an internship, college is scary, I'm not sure what to do. And I always tell them they will make space for you. I don't know how many times I have applied to so many jobs. I've applied to so many different opportunities, and literally they turned around and offered me something because based on my own skill set. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine. I applied for one thing and they was just like, hey, we see you have a degree in this. We need someone with that background. Would you be open to do that? And they will create a brand new job description for you, salary made up and everything. And I didn't know that was possible until it kept happen. It kept happening multiple times, and I'm like, wow, okay. So it kind of cured my imposter syndrome a little bit. But I always tell my students there is space for you. Space will be made for you. Always show up as your best self, always show up as your authentic self. And the job that I am doing now, I absolutely adore it because I am able to show up as myself. The last job I had prior to this was about a couple years ago. It was probably like one of the worst jobs ever. And it messed up my mental so bad. I stopped working for 6 months because, again, I wasn't able to be myself. I always had to dim my light, and I encountered a lot of different challenges with races and things and like that. And I get into this space where our mission is based off Black and Brown students and based off of, helping those students aren't that need that need career help, that need professional development, that need just a boost of support. And we are rooted in that. And I just love the space that I'm working in. So all the time, I'm telling my students, it's okay. So, things will be made for you. You just have to go out and seek them. Opportunity is always there. And if it's not there, make one. Make your own table. Create your own table. Because a lot of times people won't make room at that table. But it's okay. You build your own table and other people won't come over there. So yeah.
So if you could leave students with one key takeaway about thriving in every space, what would it be?
Um, to try, fail, try again, fail again, try one more time, fail again, go back to the drawing board, figure it out, try again, flourish, and go to the next level and keep going. And just, I feel like staying present, being grateful, um, making sure that you're like taking something from every single situation that you have. Um, finding finding something positive out of everything. Uh, just figuring it out. Like honestly, like figure it out. Don't be hard on yourself because like one thing about it, I know like even me in this situation right now, I'm so grateful and I'm so happy to be here because I'm the most recent grad here and it feels so refreshing just to be around you guys. And like, not gonna lie, in the beginning of the conversation, I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, all these people got these credentials and stuff. And I'm like, here I go. I'm taking my gap year. Like, and then like just right after that, you telling me that you took a gap year and it just made me feel so much more comfortable. It made me like actually like sit up and it made me actually like get involved in the conversation. Um, and I'm saying that to say that all the other um future alumni and college students and stuff like that, this will be you. This will be you. Wait, take your opportunity, keep going, strive for the best for you, and just, I don't know, be happy, honestly.
I say be curious. Being respectfully curious has helped me a lot. Curiosity creates questions, opportunities, and change in spaces. I definitely would say merge and marry your hobbies, interests, and whatever you do. The therapist in me could not help but say this, but like I know so many individuals and amongst other races and cultural spaces, but typically I don't know anybody who does the same job for the rest of their life. Um, Fred said he changed from nonprofit. I'm not sure what you said. I think you said the Fortune 500. Um, when I got illegally fired from my job, I directed and produced a documentary. The first ever in Pittsburgh. It wasn't huge, but it was huge to me. And so I also taught art classes, and I don't even think anybody knew, but I was in the art club at Cal U. They cheated me out some money, but I was in an art club and won like several stipends. But marrying those hobbies and those skills and talents, because those midlife crises are going to happen, those job changes are going to happen, those, hey, I might have did be doing the wrong thing and I want to do something different. I tell people all the time, I've always wanted to be a therapist since I was 12. I've already completed my 12-year-old dreams. Now I got to complete my 36-year-old dreams. So being uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, and I would just add on to what both of y'all said. Never stop learning. Like you always constantly learn, no matter what it is, and learn from every aspect, every experience that you have in life. And then when you're going into these workplaces, you're going to fail. Be okay with being failing. And it's never a loss, it's always a lesson. And that's the mindset that you got to constantly have and push yourself to be the best that you can be. And every day is going to look different. There are some days I'm like, I'm killing it because I met all these expectations or surpassed expectations I had in my mind. And the next day I may not. Doesn't mean that I didn't do the exact same work, but constantly like holding yourself to a certain standard and finding that balance of you have to take time to unplug, reset, find your community, all that. And then the thing I don't think we really speak about enough, I'd say in our community, is the power of networking. Like you mentioned, Tony, how you felt uncomfortable, like knowing that all of us have been in the same position that you have been. You aren't the first one to experience it, but this whole thing, like your network is your net worth. Make sure you're aligning yourself with people who are pushing themselves to be better versions of themselves and just overall good people. I understand success is also can be something that is get your attention, and that's what you want to be. But also look how that individual achieved that level of quote unquote success. Does it align with like your morals, your values? If it does not, look for a different route. But be around people that are going to constantly push you, the individual accountability partners, and find the joy in everything that you do. Like every day I try to find something that I'm positive about. Even though we turn on the news, the world seems like it's falling. I woke up today. And that's one thing that you can like, that's one thing I can check off. What else can I do? And then I think about when you go into your job, how can I make something positive at my job to me, as well as what can I do today that's going to bring something positive to someone else? I think if you leave with that mindset, all the things that you do at work will kind of flow in a way that it should. And of course, like Christina said, be okay with change. Change is going to happen. Doesn't mean that everything's coming to an end. It's just mean you got to pivot. But if you continue to constantly learn, you're preparing yourself for whenever that change happens, even if you're not thinking about it. So when the opportunity arises, when they say stay ready so you can get ready, you're already ready. And therefore you can step right into that opportunity and go about whatever that journey that, the man above or woman above has in line for you.
I would definitely say, do it scared. Do it scared, do it loud, do it bold. One of my favorite quotes is do something a day that scares you. And I often think about the amount of times I could have missed opportunities because I was too scared to apply, or I was too scared to do things, or I was too scared to even try. And that has gotten me places. I know one of my favorite accomplishments was I was the only Black woman in a room at my program at Cal that won a $10,000 grant. I looked around, I was like, oh, I'm the only Black person here. I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." But it's just like I was too scared to apply because I didn't think I was going to get it, and also find your strength and use it to your advantage. Or even just find something about you and use it to your advantage. Like for me, I'm a certified yapper. Okay. I could talk to my ear off all day long. Everyone that knows me knows this. So that's literally why I'm in the mental health field. So but my mouth has gotten me in so many places. I have gotten so many opportunities. Just like the other panelist said, like your network is your net worth, right? And the community that I built, the amazing friends that I've made along the journey just by talking to people has changed my life for the better. And I couldn't be more grateful. So definitely use your strength, make it you and use it to your advantage. Always just do it scared because you're gonna have to do it anyway at some point. So you might as well just do it now instead of living life full of regret. So
Piggyback on all of that. Definitely do it scared. I have a job and I was terrified about the process to do so. I stayed there much longer than I should have, even though I knew it was time for me to go. And in that time, because I had networked with the right people, now I'm not worried about like, oh, what's happening next because I have something already set up from someone who was like, I thought about you and you were on my mind. And so I put you, there's a position that I've been having on pause for you. So when you're ready, you let me know. And so that's because you put yourself in those positions, you leave yourself open enough to talk to people. But mainly being you, be who you are, do not change and do not feel like you have to fit everywhere. I think that's the biggest thing is do not feel like you have to be the puzzle piece that fits in everybody else's puzzle. Make other people fit in your puzzle, right? And I think that we oftentimes try to fit in everyone else's spaces. Let them fit in your space. It's okay for you to be the center of the attention or a center of everything at that moment because you bring a lot of insight and knowledge. And so um, just don't feel like you lack. And you're gonna have imposter syndrome. You're gonna, have times when you fail. You're gonna have times when you doubt. There are gonna be times when you're scared. You're gonna want to change, but that's what makes you you, and that's what makes you resilient to the next place in your life. So just keep learning, keep thriving. You'll be fine.
Well, thank you to all of our panelists for your powerful insights. Now we want to hear from you, our audience. If you have any questions for any of our panelists, please leave them in the chat. We have received 3 questions already, so I'm going to ask those. One question was, what was your I'm Black and I'm proud moment? And when can you embrace your skin and be confident?
Okay, mine is probably a little bit random, but I was at a conference, y'all, and it was, if you know anything about John Jay, they're like a big criminal justice school. And I was getting a PhD in criminal justice, but I was at a HBCU. So obviously, coming from another small school and also a Black school, you are asking for a lot, right? There are a lot of preconceived notions. And I had to present and the girl who was from John Jay on my panel had like a similar topic, and we had like pretty much same literature and all that good stuff, right? And so afterwards, her advisor came up and was like, "Wow, you did a great job. I wasn't expecting that. You did such a good job." And while it was a backhanded compliment, it was also like, yeah, I do deserve to be in this space. I do know my stuff. And just because I'm, coming from an HBCU or because I come from a smaller school or these things, that doesn't diminish who I am. And at that moment, I was very proud to say, like, yes, I am a Black woman. And yes, I did just rock that. Okay. And now you know.
I think the first time I had a I'm Black and I'm proud moment was probably when I first got on the BSU board, ironically. When I first got on the BSU board, I, right before I was getting on the BSU board, COVID was happening. We had no idea. Trump was telling us it was fake. And we had to wait for the elections a long time. It got prolonged, and then we got there, and we were doing our thing online for a little second, but we had the opportunity to have our annual showcase. And when we had the opportunity to have our annual showcase, this was fresh off of COVID, fresh off of the Black Lives Matter movement. And we're like, we got to do something, and we got to set the standard. Like, we got to blow this thing off the roof. Like, we really got to do something. We ended up in a convocation center. We had a actual stage, and we put so much meaning behind this one show because we felt like we had to. Like, we felt like it was so much bigger than us, to the point where I tell everybody this all the time, that like my right eye was bloodshot red, and nobody peeped. The only people who peeped were my board. But it's in we had like a little promo video, and I'm putting my hoodie up in the promo video so you can't see my face because my right eye is red, because I was just stressing because like I had to get this right. We had to get this right. When I tell you Savannah was the president, I was the vice president actually. And when I tell you our heads spinning, and then we're still like at the end, we're like, did we do a good job? Did we do a good job? But our former president, she comes, and when I tell you one thing about Cynthia, she got them eyes. She'll tell you too. Like, if you ain't do a good job, she will tell you. But she told us she thought we did wonderful, and it was great. And I just had that moment where I felt so complete. I felt like we really did something. And it was also we were also paying tribute to the Black Lives Matter movement as well. So like, it showed me so many different shades of black. It showed me so many different, like, it showed me the beauty in who I was. And it was like, it was beautiful, to say the least.
Thank you, Tony. Unfortunately, this is all the time that we have. I would like to give a great thanks to Chris for putting this all together for us, for running Zoom and YouTube. I want to give a big shout out to the BSU. They're currently in the Vulcan Theater watching this live, having a watch party. And to everyone else who's watching this on YouTube as well, thank you. Thank you to our amazing panelists, our moderator, Fred, our VP, Vince, our president. I would like to leave us with a quote. The moment anyone tries to demean or degrade you in any way, you have to know how great you are. Nobody would bother to beat you down if you were not a threat. And let that be a reminder of your own power, your own purpose, and your own brilliance. So thank you all again, and happy Black History Month.